And across the globe, women have been demonstrating on front of parliaments, staging protests and walkouts, all in a bid to draw attention to the fight for full equality. You're seeing pictures here from Madrid, where a full strike was called for by women there. This for the second year running. In Nairobi and other cities, protesters spoke of the fear women have in coming forward in cases of sexual assault, but advances are being made, for example, in Malawi, where the government has received praise for raising the minimum age of marriage from 15 to 18. Yet, change does take time, and half of girls in Malawi still marry before the age of 18. France 24's Saoirse Wilson takes a look at the case of one school in the south of Malawi, where there are efforts to show young women another way forward.
At the Amalika Teacher Training College, young women are learning the skills to one day become teachers themselves. It's part of teacher Chrissy Chapua's plan to empower Malawian women through education, creating the next generation of female teachers to follow in her footsteps.
Most of the parents, they don't see the importance of school to the young girls. They think that whenever the girl has reached maturity, then she can be married.
In Malawi, 9% of girls are married by the time they turn 15. And 30% of girls aged 15 to 19 are either pregnant or have already given birth. With many having to abandon their education, the UN Women's Agency warns this keeps girls in a vicious cycle of poverty.
As someone who dropped out and then returned to school, I urge those who've come back to school not to be discouraged and to study hard and become future role models.
In recent years, Malawi's education ministry has encouraged young mothers to continue their schooling. Meanwhile, Chrissy travels the country, showing young Malawi women the importance of an education.
Now we're joined in studio by Aissata Lam. Welcome to France 24, and thank you for coming in to talk to us. You're the president of the Youth Chamber of Commerce in Mauritania. You're also a member of the G7 Advisory Council for Gender Equality. I'm not sure if you were able to hear the report we were just playing now, but it was about the age for marriage in Malawi and how it's been raised to 18. What do you think are, I suppose, the most pressing issues now for women and women's rights in Africa, I suppose, if we can speak broadly speaking for the continent?
Well, in Africa specifically, women issues, we like to say, are human issues and human rights. You're talking about the age of marriage. We're talking about this morning. It's a very important issue in Africa because it's also part of a vicious circle. Education, girls' education, child's marriage, the fact that the girls are taken out of school to get into marriages that they don't like, hence it's causing several other issues that inhibit them from becoming women entrepreneurs and also leaders of tomorrow. So
well, this report was looking at how education and schools can maybe help show women the way in that respect, perhaps help them to kind of fight back against customs that might force them to take another route. So education, I suppose, being a key.
Absolutely. And what's fantastic is it's not even, for example, NGOs and foreign governments coming to force them. The girls themselves, they realize that it's important, so they're fighting themselves, which is for me even more fantastic than just somebody coming from another country telling them, you have to go to school. They go to their parents and they say, no, I don't want to get married because I want to go to school. I want to become a doctor. I want to be a prime minister. So I think we're at this stage. So, okay, we have issues, but then we also have to look at the bright side.
Well, I think you're probably an inspiration for a lot of women in Mauritania. You set up the Youth Chamber of Commerce in the country, which is no small feat. It has been recognised as having made a contribution to innovation. Tell us a little bit more about that, about what your journey, I guess, and what you can tell young women in Mauritania. What you can show them, just more generally speaking.
Well, I come from Mauritania. It's a country in sub-Saharan Africa, the crossroad between the Arab world and sub-Saharan Africa. So, yeah, it's a beautiful country. And sitting that Youth Chamber of Commerce, the main objective of our team was really to change the narrative, and also give a platform for these young Mauritanians to have the tools and to change their stories, to have the tools to set up companies, to set up startups, to go to trainings and have other perspectives in life. And this is what we're trying to do specifically for women. We started a couple of years ago this ceremony called Mauritanienne d'exception, exceptional Mauritanian women, and to put a face on those extraordinary women that are in the country, but we don't know and we don't see enough.
So helping women, I suppose, to have the tools to innovate and not to have to kind of rely on others, but to be able to do it themselves. Now, you met today with President Macron, this as part of projects regarding the G7's advisory council. What are its objectives, the G7 advisory council or the G7 more broadly, when it comes to women's rights?
This advisory council is very important. It was started by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and continued by President Emmanuel Macron, whom we salute because it's fantastic to see one of your fellow president or prime minister do something good and say, okay, I'll do it as well because it benefits women's rights. So the missions of this council were we have to propose to G7 countries a series of laws, initiatives that are aimed to advance education, girls' education, and specifically women entrepreneurship in Africa as well. So a series of laws to present to the countries in order to advance the agenda in those countries and also encourage other countries to join the fight.
Well, listen, much more to say on it, but we'll have to leave it for there now. Aissata Lam, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, Venezuela.